Hello, everybody. We are live,
Yay.
although,
Hello.
it'll take a minute. We have a lot of people waiting, though, so.
Woohoo.
Yay.
Here we go.
Hello.
All right. We are on YouTube. Yay. Okay. So, hi, guys. It's my month. We're talking about Art of Blood and Ashes.
Yay.
Yay.
This is going to be an interesting conversation.
So,
Mara's read it twice, so was it better or worse the second time?
I skim read, I skim read it the second time, so I don't feel like it was like a full reading, but I feel like I felt the same pretty much both times.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. Hi, Heather. Yes. Glad you loved this book. Some of us liked it. Happy Saturday. Yes. Happy Independent Bookstore Day. I did actually go to my independent bookstore this morning. So,
I'm going to one later after this.
nice.
Because they are having a parking lot sale, so COVID safety and books.
I love it. Love it.
I'm probably just going to rewatch Shadow and Bone all day. I'm very,
I
very busy.
I want to watch that.
You haven't watched it at all?
No.
I just
Not
want to
yet.
watch it on repeat for the whole rest of this month, in between rereading Six of Crows, of course.
Yeah. I mean, it was the finale of Drag Race last night, so I was a bit busy.
I haven't watched it yet. I've got that up to watch this afternoon. I'm sorry. I keep staring at Leanna because Leanna is radiant today. I don't know if it's like the lighting for the background or what, but like
I said the same thing.
you're always beautiful, but like this is just working today.
I was going to say I should pack an
Yeah.
overnight bag and sit in my parents' hallway more often, because apparently that's the look.
Hey,
You're
whatever
glowing.
works. I love it. Okay, so how do we want to do this? Because I know we had mixed feelings on this. Do we want to just like go around and say
Our star ratings? That's a good
our
place
star
to start.
rating? That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Amanda, why don't you start?
I gave it like 3 because I had fun making jokes for it. As I kept putting so many jokes in our Voxer chat that I thought were funny.
Just
I
like,
don't
can
know
you
if they
give-
were landing.
Can you give Milla Vane credit for your jokes?
No.
Since you're giving it a star rating for your own jokes.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
why
I mean,
not?
I didn't hate the book, but like it had issues.
Okay. Leanna?
Oh, I gave it 2. I would have given it 1, but like I did quite like certain things about the female main character, like not the story, but like her as a person. I wanted better and different for her than what she got, but like I liked her enough to like give it 1 more star.
I gave it 3.5 the first time I read it, and I'd say that's probably still what I would give it. It is my least favorite Milla Vane / Mel Jean Brooke. I'm actually really bummed that you guys are encountering her with this book, because trope-wise, I would not have picked this for any of you. I think I love her world building so much, and I love her writing so much, that I think me not necessarily loving the trope combo here covers a multitude of sins. I also love the heroine, so I totally get why people might not like. It's a barbarian romance. It has certain tropes that are just not going to be for everyone. But anyway, this is my least favorite Milla Vane, but I'm guessing I liked it best out of us.
Yeah. I initially gave it 3, and then the longer I sat on it, I put it down to 2.5. So, I really liked the fantasy elements of it. Like I liked the world building, and I really liked the heroine, but as a romance, it just didn't work for me. I did not like the hero. I didn't care for them together. So yeah, 2.5 for me.
Yeah, he's kind of an a-hole. Everyone in the book thought he was an a-hole. Like even his friends were like,
yeah. Which is part of why for me it works maybe a little bit better than it did for some of y'all, is that textually everybody acknowledges that he's an asshole.
yeah.
If that had not been the case, I would have hated it. But because the book and the world is acknowledging that his behavior is not okay, it gives me more space in a fantasy romance to just go with it. Because I'm like, okay, this is just the kind of book it is. Like, this is the, like, he's an asshole and he's hopefully going to have a big grovel at the end. okay.
I just feel like
not
if
my
I
favorite,
was
but-
if I was friends with her and we were like having girl talk, you know, I'd be like, no, he is not worth it. No.
100
Look at your life, look at your choices. No.
I love her.
I would be like,
I
girl,
love
just
that
go,
choice.
just go get your throne. Find someone else to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Especially like
like,
when they like go down the list of alternative suitors and he's like, why didn't you pick him? And why didn't you pick him? And I'm like, really though, why didn't you pick him or literally anybody else?
she really likes getting body parts for gifts because, like, you know, some guys give flowers. He's like, here's a head and here's another head. Oh, would you also like a heart? I have some genitals over there I ripped off. He just keeps giving her body parts and she seems into it. So
Also,
Which
can I
kind
just
of
say
love,
that,
I have
like,
to
there
say,
was-
I feel like it's over the top, but it's a barbarian romance. I'm like, okay, I
But
like
I
that
would-
you're being a
I would-
barbarian.
Just like to remind everybody that she is deflowered in the same room as her brother's head is rotting on a table next to them while this is like not my favorite.
I know. When they first meet, she gives him a handy while her hand is covered in her dead brother's
Oh my
blood.
gosh. That
Which,
was
like-
grossing me out so much. And then they're like licking it. And I was like,
Like, it's like,
that's so gross.
don't have blood and cum at the
No.
same time. Like,
No.
no.
I think the bloody handy is a lot less disturbing to me than a severed head next to me while I'm being deflowered. Like, way
Yeah,
worse.
that I don't think I noticed that, but
Yeah.
fair.
When as soon as he came in with the head, I
Right.
was like, when he came in with the head, I was like, where are we putting this? And we're leaving it there. And we are still in the same room. I'm keeping an eye on that head. Yep, that is still where that is. We have not moved it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't
That was so
disagree.
far into the story that I was just like, yeah, of course there's a head there. Like, at that point, yeah, that makes sense. You know?
I don't disagree. For me, like, I feel like I'm going to be in the position of defending this book, even though I don't necessarily disagree with much of what you're saying.
Mhm.
It's what the book is. Like, it is the tone of the book. So for me, I'm just like, okay, like, none of it really bothered me per se, because I'm like, okay, this is a barbarian romance and we're going there. And I think I had been primed because I had read and loved the novella years ago that started this, which I know Bethany did not enjoy, but I really love that novella. Like, that's a 4 or 4.5 star novella for me. So I think I was already like, I knew going into this what the tone was going to be like. And that's just like what the tone is. And it's not for everyone, but like, it works for me. And I think if you can get down with an alpha, it's a fun kind of over the top
Yeah.
book.
I mean, I think we definitely have some variation in the comments. So Heather really loved it. It's a 5-star read. We have a 3.5, a 2-star. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Love Alpha Barbarian Generals. Hey, you know what? I do
That's what
not,
this is.
but that's what this is. So if you like that, that's, you know.
But like, I
Yeah.
swear, like, I feel like the comparison that is the obvious comparison is always like the Dothraki. And I think that like the depiction of like how you can find some kind of affection between somebody who's really essentially initially your abuser and your owner and this barbarian leader, but like finding that kind of core of mutual respect eventually between the two of them works so much better between Daenerys and Khal Drogo than this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, there were parts of the book that were like...
Here's the thing. Like, I think the book did what it was trying to do well for the people who like that. If you
Well,
want
obviously
to,
5 stars.
yeah, I mean, if you want a dark barbarian romance, here you go. Like, they did exactly what they set out to do.
Yeah.
But like, it was just, for me, at certain points, it just got so repetitive that I started like having more fun with it because I was just laughing at things that I don't think were supposed to be funny. But it's just like every other page, you're just, my seed. Do you want my seed? Give me your seed. It's like they're gardeners. just
Honestly,
throwing
like,
seed
I mean,
everywhere.
That
There
didn't
was-
bother me. I thought it was funny.
so
Like,
much
that I was-
seed.
It's the tone.
whatever.
Like, it's the world. Like, it's just the tone.
I was gonna say the seed
Like,
thing didn't bother me nearly
it's
as much
so
as like
much.
I like they said seed a lot, but whatever. They say a lot of things a lot of times in romances. Like, I'm very tired of hearing about genitals in general and like all the fluids. Like, I'm used to that. But the number of times that they said, this is truth, that is truth, this is truth, that is truth. And I was like, is it truth? Is it truth? Like, oh my God, why?
I will say in general, I mean, like, I should also mention that just in terms of the project of this series, I like it more clearly than anybody else here does, but it's not my favorite kind of romance. So I would strongly recommend her Iron Seas series over this, which she wrote under Mel Jean Brooke. I do think it's a better series so far. I think the lowest I gave anything in that series was a 4-star, whereas the highest I've given anything in this one is a 4-star. So some of it's a preference thing, but I also think I think it's an easier series to get into, and it's not nearly as alpha driven.
That's the thing is like I was fine with her writing, and if this was a fantasy and it wasn't a romance, like I probably would have liked it a lot better. But like for me, the fact that it is trying to be a romance and didn't work was part of what made my rating lower. But I really like the heroine too, and I also thought she's great. And you know, it's kind of cool too to have like, because she's basically a disabled heroine and you see her find like ways to be strong and ways to be a warrior, and I loved all of that. So there were things I liked. It was just the romance.
That's why I gave it 2 instead of 1, because of her.
She's great. She's clearly the best part of the book.
Except then I have to be like, girl, you so dumb. What do you see in him? Girl.
I guess
so smart in so many ways. Why is
it's
this your
just
mega
that
blind
D,
spot?
she just wants the D. She's like, I just met you and this is crazy. Let's get married and put a baby in me. Like that's like her whole sales pitch.
Yep.
She's Carly Rae Jepsen of the Barbarian era.
I was kind of joking with myself when I was thinking, like, you know, I just want to talk about Six of Crows and Shadow and Bone. Like, that's where my head's at, and I'm just going to work it into the conversation. But, like, as I was sitting here, I was like, actually, though, because I was thinking about, like, how Nina and Matthias are, and how, like, Matthias is, like, portrayed as this character who's, like, aggressively ingrained in how he thinks, and you can't talk him out of it. And, like, you can keep having these circular conversations with him where he's going to be like, but this is what I think, and you're lying. And this is what I think, and you're lying. But I think it's handled better in Six of Crows where, like, it doesn't feel like you're such a moron. Like, how are you this stupid? How do you keep asking the same question over and over again, getting an answer, and then saying, I don't like that answer? Like, he's so dumb in this book where I'm just like, what is wrong with you? You are like a 5-year-old stupid child.
I mean, he's
a barbarian general. I don't think that they're known for
their so that's what like I wanted to like say that like that can work
like,
for me because I think Matthias is written well where like he's written that way where he's like stubbornly ingrained in a thought process, but like I can get behind that romance. Like I think it's handled well where like I can see what's happening where like it's like getting somebody out of that mindset slowly but surely, and it's a painful process. Here, it was just going in circles. Like I was like, how you're making no progress. How are you this stupid?
Yeah. Well, like, they kept repeating the same conflict over and over again. Like
that was the part that really frustrated. Like honestly, nothing you're saying about him I disagree with, but like I just was okay with it. For me, it was more that this was repetitive that kept me from liking it more. It's repetitive and too long. I think I saw somebody say it's 100 pages too long, which I completely agree with. Like, I actually think that this would have been a lot better as a novella. Like, I wish she'd made this a novella. Because I really like the first novella, even though I know Bethany didn't. I really like that one. So I would have liked this a lot more if it had been a novella, because you would have just had the conflict like once or twice. She could have been a badass. You can keep the bloody handy scene, sure.
I also like I was shocked that like I thought like okay, you know, so we get her and we pick her up and we travel home and some part of this is going to be the journey. But I realized when I was like 80% through the book and we were still on journey, I was like the whole book is how long are they traveling? And then I realized it's not actually that long. We're just every day is like 100 pages. And I'm like, it's been 7 days, y'all, and y'all are still traveling and this is still what this is about. I was like, can we get to the place we are going? Like,
yeah. Just talk to each other. Yeah. Well, and that's probably
she does try to talk to him and he tries to rip out her tongue. Like talking wasn't working either.
Right?
She tried.
Yeah. Dude. Well, and that's the thing. I also don't love books where you're like mostly traveling.
Well, if you don't like that, then you won't. I don't think you like any of this series.
Yeah, this might not be like the thing for me.
But again, that's when I also kept thinking of
alpha holes in real life. Look, but you know what? There are people who like reading them, so to each their own.
But I've seen alpha holes done better. Like, has anyone here read Cressley Cole? There's a lot of alpha holes there, but like I like them a lot.
I have to say, this book reminds me a lot of Cressley Cole because she can sometimes do alpha holes well. But I honestly think that this reminds me, like, Yeah, this is, I think, an unpopular opinion. I think Cressley Cole is somewhat overrated because I think she is very inconsistent. And this reminds me of one of her more middling entries in the Immortals After Dark series. The one where I was like, yeah, this is, I get what this is and I'm into it, and like, I like the heroine, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
There were pieces of, like, the story is quite different overall, but there were pieces of it that were reminiscent of Grace Draven's Phoenix Unbound because of the kind of like barbarian Khal Drogo-ish hate to love situation. And like, I was pretty hard on that book for other reasons, not the same reasons as here, but I just kept thinking to myself, like, I mean, mainly I was thinking about how I wish I was reading Radiance and how that's way better. But like,
this
how
was
like even
nothing like Radiance.
like, except the traveling part, like I kept thinking about how like after they get married, how they're traveling and how they get attacked and how she's like adjusting to like being around the Kai and they're riding on the same horse and he's like protecting her and she's like all little and frail and he's like this like fanged monster. So I was like, there's pieces of that I was like, except it's so much sweeter in Radiance and he's not ripping her tongue out and like But yeah, I mean, so like Phoenix Unbound, even I like, it made me feel more like in retrospect, I was like, oh, I was too hard on Phoenix Unbound because like it's way better than this.
I think Phoenix Unbound is better than this for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing is like, I feel like there was a way that this could have been better. Like, I would have been more okay with it if he had become more likable, but he never became likable. Like, he's always a jerk. And I was like waiting for that because I was like, I could have gotten on with it if he like, because she talks a lot about like, oh, you need to develop the heart of a king, you need to change. And I'm like waiting for the change.
Oh, like towards the end when he like says something about how like, and now I have the heart of a king, and I'm like, we feel confident in saying this about ourselves. Okay.
Like, do you though?
That's a bold move. I have now the heart of a king. Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Area.
That's the thing, like, the world is cool, and the political stuff is interesting. Like, all of that I liked. I just didn't like him or the romance. So it's hard where I'm like, you know, there's, like, good stuff there.
And so I know that with romance, this is not going to be an option ever, where, like, they don't end up together, where it's a, you know, not a happy ending. But I kept thinking about how much there were pieces of it that reminded me of what I also like much better, which is Vikings, the TV show. And where, like, when Ragnar shows up again and, oh, I broke Mara with that comparison. Like, that's it. But when Ragnar comes back and he's got a new woman with him, and Lagertha is like, I am not sticking around for this. And she leaves. And like, he tries to stop her and he's like, I don't want you to go. I love you. And I just want this other woman to like basically make sons for me. And she's like, you have humiliated me by bringing her here. And I will not stay for this. And their son goes with her. And she's like, that's it. Like, I love you. You loved me, but I will not stay for this, and leaves. And like, if that was basically where this was going a little bit, when she was like, you don't trust me. You still believe that I'm a liar. I cannot marry you. Like, I cannot marry somebody that will not believe me, that will not trust me. And I wish that she had just left, and that's how it ended. And he learned his lesson, and it was real sad. But you know, we move on.
Yeah. I think this is like perfect. I'm sorry. Was his heart of a king in a box by his bed or on his dinner plate?
It was in a sack that he gave him in.
I just giving her heart. And I wonder if like an alternative plotting for this to keep it as a romance would be maybe if she had left him for a time and then they'd come back together where he had actually changed. Like that.
Yeah. I think that would have been better because I think there are ways this could have worked, but he needed to actually change. And like for me, just like a grovel at the end is inadequate. Like I need behavior change, like which I just feel like I didn't get enough of that.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I'm thinking of Cressley Cole, because it's the same problem I have in this one, which is I don't feel like the grovel matches the crime frequently in a Cressley Cole, where I'm like, I do like this grovel, but then when I think about what's happened, I'm like, this doesn't match fully, which I think is the case in this. Like, I did like the grovel, but then when I thought about everything that had happened, I was like, I'm not sure that this is enough.
Well, he called her a liar in front of all of his people, and then in private, he was like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I called you a liar. You weren't a liar. Like, oh, I need you to broadcast that now. I need you to eat crow in front of everybody that you told that I was a liar.
Yes.
Yeah, go tell them now you were wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. Which that did not happen. Yeah, I think, I don't know. It's hard because like I think she was trying to do this like political plot that was on a certain timeline and fit the romance into that timeline, and I just don't think that worked super well. That was kind of like what it seemed like. But yeah. This is interesting.
But I would also like to
it's
say
a difference of terminology though, because genre romance is defined as having a happy ending, whereas the romantic tradition doesn't necessarily have to have a happy ending in the same way. But yeah,
like Nicholas Sparks, like all of his books are sad.
They're not actually romance.
Yeah, those are melodrama. They're not. They have romance in them,
but they're broadcast as romance.
Yeah, they're misshelved because they're not genre romance.
I hate Nicholas Sparks.
But
Sorry,
also,
I
like,
just got to throw that in there.
What bothered me on like I don't know, I guess it's a structural. No, it's not. I don't know. But like the fact that like their attitude towards their goddesses rules, you know, about like how you have to have your moon night before you actually like bang or whatever, and how they keep like getting around this with a technicality of like, well, we'll do everything but, and we'll stick it in with a finger instead. And I was just like, do you really like, but like your faith you're doing on a technicality? Like if your mom says, I don't want you drinking in the house while I'm gone, so you take your bottle of wine to the garden. Because technically, that's not what mom said, but you know that you're disobeying her. You know that's not what she wanted. So, like, this is how they're treating the goddess's rules. They're like, oh, but if we stick it up with a finger, then, like, we're still good with the goddess.
Back to my fundamentalist days.
Yeah. Well, my issue with that was that this world has like, queer people in it, but it doesn't take into account that, like, queer sex between women doesn't involve, like, a penis penetrating anything. So, like...
she's not cross-count, and there must be some workaround around that, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
or maybe I don't think they care. I don't think the author that wasn't a part world building they were.
But it was something that bothered me where I was like, yeah, but like this is sex. Like I don't. Yeah, and
just because you're doing just the tip doesn't mean you're not having sex.
It was frankly exhausting the lengths to which they went to do everything but. I was like, it was like such gymnastics to just not do the one little technically that's the thing, and then all they could think about is like doing the actual thing though, and I'm like, oh my god, just fucking do it already. Like, you've basically done it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't.
Like, I mean, like that's basically like a virgin conception, what they were doing, where like she could walk around saying that she's a virgin, but she's like low-key pregnant. Like,
yeah, that was interesting. I don't know. I think, why couldn't they, I wish they had just done the Moon Knight thing earlier on, you know, like just had that, and then, I don't know. It's whatever.
Yeah.
All these details.
Can we talk about like world building for a minute?
Yeah.
Only 1 minute.
Only one. Because there is a lot. I mean, she created a whole universe and there's different peoples in it and everything. Mm-hmm. But like there were some inconsistencies. Like I think I was talking about this a bit before we went live, but like they have all these new animals that are really cool and very well described, but then there's also monkeys. Because at one point they said, oh, there's no monkeys. And I'm like, why are there monkeys here? Like, they also have horses. Dinosaurs. Like, why are there monkeys? Are they normal monkeys? And like, so I couldn't make heads or tails of like where, when, and where. Like, because there was parts of the real world mixed in, and it like I couldn't get over monkeys.
Yeah, I mean,
it might be just me.
But they have horses. Like, I think it's like a mix. It's not really our world, but I think it's like taking.
There's also dinosaurs. I know, but like I could get over horses because like horses are in everything, but like. Monkeys. They weren't even in a tropical climate. Like they were like in barbarian land, and I was like, why are there monkeys in like just mountains? I guess there are.
I know Pipicuses don't live in the jungle.
they never described the monkeys, so it's just a monkey. And I was like, it's just me. I realize this now, but like I couldn't get over monkeys.
See, I studied primatology, so I'm very excited anytime there's monkeys. I'm never going to have a problem with there being monkeys.
Well, no, don't get me wrong. I also like a monkey in something, but like, why were there monkeys here? I'm glad there were, but why were
monkeys
they there?
are always
They
relevant.
did
That's why.
They did nothing with them. She just pointed them out at one point. There was no. They didn't talk to the monkeys. The monkeys didn't bother them. They just pointed at them and say, "Those are monkeys." And I'm like, why?
Sure.
I was just having weird problems.
Maybe she met the rock band. Maybe.
They're up in the trees just singing songs. I don't know. I had such weird issues with the book because like I kept hyper fixating on things and I just couldn't stop. So that was my reading experience. Monkeys and seed everywhere.
I don't know. I mean, I thought the political side of things was really interesting because it's got this whole thing of like, you know, this group of people supposedly allying themselves, but like, how do you negotiate? Like, there's a lot of interesting things happening. Like, oh, well, you know, they're getting too much of their crops taken away, and so these people are hungry, and you need to like take that into account. Like, I just thought like some of the like a lot of the like low key political ideas that she was playing with in here were interesting. But
I wish they were high key political ideas, though. That was the issue. So they were a little too low key at points. Yeah. It's like I know they're happening, but it's not what the point of the story was.
Yeah, so it's kind of in the background. I guess I was probably paying attention because like that was probably what I was most interested in. So I was like, I would like more of this, please. Like, yes, that's
do that more.
Cool. No. But it's hard when like this is like, you know, it's always hard though when you're reading something when like you want this thing and the author is interested in this thing, you know.
Yeah.
You're just fine.
Anyone else have world building ideas?
For me, often like if an author isn't interested that much, like if that's not their like raison d'etre, then I'd almost sometimes prefer them not to do it, if that makes sense. Sort of like fantasy writers, like who are mainly writing like fantasy and they throw in a romance, 99% of the time people agree that adult fantasy has terrible romances in it. Like they're not well written because that's not their area. Like they're writing a fantasy and sticking a romance in it. So I feel similarly to when like someone who's like mainly writing a romance is like doing some world building. I'm like, okay, but that's not really like the thing you're here for. So like it always feels to me half-assed. And then I'm like, I almost like would rather not be there than be there and be bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me, but I think you're more bothered by bad world building. Like, so.
But I mean, I'm equally bothered by a horribly written romance, which is when I'm also like, well, then don't have one. Like, if you can't do it well, then don't do it.
That's funny. Who likes the balance between the world and focus on the couple? Fair. I mean, that's the thing is like if you're going into this and really what you want is the romance and you like this kind of romance, like you're gonna get what you want. So
like for world building, like I think Grace Draven does a much better job throwing in enough world building to have a setting for this to take place without like feeling like she's not doing it enough or not doing it well or whatever. And she's like, it's not like the main point of the story, but she does it well enough to where this feels like a real world for our characters to be in right now. And like she focuses on it enough to get you like to like place you there and get you understanding the situation. But you're also like, that's also not what we're here for. So she does it like just enough and does it well.
Charles just said Amanda Boucher is good for fantasy romance. And I agree. I was thinking about that.
I need to try her. I have one of her books now.
Well, she writes fantasy romance, and I don't think you would like it. But Bethany, I think you would like it. Well, it's the world building thing that you were talking about because it's supposed to be a romance that happens in a fantasy world. And so she has the romance and then she builds the world upon it rather than having the world and putting a romance in it. So like for me, it depends what the point of the story is. If the point of the story is these two people trying to fuck, then I'm like, I want to read about that, and the world should support that. So that's like the good thing with Amanda Boucher books. Also, hers is kind of based on like the Greek gods and stuff. And I don't know. I read the series and I liked it. The last book was kind of disappointing, but like the rest of it's really good.
I feel like that's just like our group chat at all times. Hey, everybody except Leanna. This book is really good.
You know what? No, I do try to find books I think you would like, but I'm just wrong.
It's like sometimes it doesn't. Well, yes.
I was like, okay, bye.
Sometimes I know better, and I'm like, there's no way
Yeah.
you're going to like this. But sometimes I'm like, I hope you like this, because I think you might.
It is hard. Like, it is hard. Like,
I did give you a copy of Echo Wife, which I genuinely think you'll really like. I don't know if you've read it yet, but like, I did, like, I read this and I'm like, I think Leanna would like this. And I was like, oh man, I cracked the code, everybody.
That's not like a
Echo Wife
romance.
is great.
It's-
No, it's
it's
not a
not.
romance at
It's
all.
not.
I was like,
But-
I was thinking this is not a romance. Are you telling me it's a romance?
It's definitely not a. It is
It's not
not a romance, but it's
I've
very
been tricked.
good.
but it's very good. No, like, it's like, this like a like goal. I'm like, I'm going to crack the code and just like recommend books you like, because I'm batting on 0 here. No, Tessa Dare. You like Tessa Dare. So I had 1.
I do like Tessa Dare.
So
Tessa
there you
Dare
go.
is like, for in romance, the way that Joe Abercrombie is in fantasy, where like 99% of the time, like, this sucks, and you know why it sucks? Because it's nothing like Joe Abercrombie. It's nothing like Tessa Dare. That's the standard that we measure it up against.
Yeah.
I love it. That's funny. Yeah. I don't know. Other things about this. Mara, I know you, I feel like I want you to be able to too talk about like stuff because I know you love this author.
I do. I mean, I don't really know what to say because it's like this is just not y'all's thing. So like
Yeah.
it's hard to really.
But people but some people in the comments really like it.
Yeah, and I
you
just, like I said, this is my least favorite book from her. But yeah, I guess I don't really know what to say because I'm like, well, I could talk in more detail about things I liked, but I just don't think they're things
I'm curious
you guys
if like,
So,
Yeah.
I'm curious if it being, because I know this is not with romance per se, but this has happened to me where like, because I'm already familiar with an author and I already like what they do in general, then like I am more forgiving when I read something
100%.
else.
I think that that's probably part of it too, because I know how I just like this author. I like the way she does her world building. I know it's not for everyone, but I really like the world building. I really like the heroine. It's not my favorite trope combo, but it's kind of like from the other Blood and what was that other one called? From Blood and Ash.
Blood and Ash.
My other favorite book.
To me, it's like you kind of just got to go with it. Like this is the book it is, and so like you're either gonna be able to kind of go with the tone of it or not. And for me, I just was like, okay, like that's what this book is. So
yeah. Although, like, I do think the visuals in this book were pretty good. Like, I liked some of the things you described, like how the barbarians look, where they had just like a black paint across their eyes, and then like when they come to the town at the end, like the castle at the end to save Vane, and it's just a barbarian horde shows up at their door. Like, that's a cool fucking thing to see. So I thought like a lot of the visuals and her descriptions of things were very good. Like I was able to clearly picture everything in the book. So it had some, like, it's doing what it does very well. It's just depends on whether you like it.
Yeah.
So nothing against like the book. It's filling a niche and it's filling the niche well. Like there's a lot of niche feeling in here.
I think there was a sincere possibility for me to have liked this if it was shorter and if he was less of a stupid twat. Like, like otherwise, like there's like things about it, like you said, it's described well. She is a bamf, love her.
Yeah,
like
she's
there's like
the best part of this, like the great heroine. Yeah,
and even like I mean the way that his people are, like it's fine. It's him. Like I have no problem with his culture.
Yeah.
It's him.
I would not recommend. This is actually interesting. I wouldn't recommend Bethany or Amanda continuing in the series because I think if you didn't like this, you're just not. This is just not for you, which is fair enough. I do think there's actually a chance Leanna could like the next one because it is childhood friends to lovers.
You do like that trope.
The whole thing is
True.
he is pining for her. I like the second one much better than this one. He's pining for her because she was the general of their like land and she lost this battle and like through political machinations got like booted out. and she feels like he didn't stick up for her. So she's mad at him, but he's like been pining for her, and they raised this baby saber-toothed tiger together. And so they have like an adorable pet that they own together, and like it's him like trying to get her to come back. So like I actually think Leanna could like that one if she was down with the world at all, because it's a trope combo that's better for her.
I love your face, Leanna.
I don't think you would like this series. Like, I just don't think that this is a series for you if you didn't like this, because it's just too alpha-ness, and I just know that's a struggle for you.
It is. Yeah. I think I'm glad I've tried it though, because I'd seen it everywhere and I was interested in it. And like if she was writing something else, because like that's the thing, I like her heroine, I like her world building and like the political stuff. So like if it was something else, you know, like I would read something else from her. I don't know if it wasn't quite.
Yeah, I think if you were gonna try something else from her, I would 100% tell you to go to the Milla Vane Brooks stuff, because I think it's more likely to be something you like. But again, there's always a level of like, it's a fantasy world with some kind of alphas, and I just never know how you're gonna do with that.
And it varies. It depends. Yeah. Like sometimes I'm fine and sometimes I'm not. And
like I'm looking at them. If I was gonna give you one, well, there's actually, you know what? There's several novellas in the Milla Vane Brooks one that maybe like try one of those. Mm-hmm. There's one called The Blushing Bounder, and he's like a cinnamon roll ye fantasy constable, and the heroine from the first novel is the detective he helps. And he's like it's very sweet. So
I didn't read the novella. Or sorry, go ahead.
There's a comment that she has a steampunk zombie book.
Yes, that's what this series is.
There's steampunk zombies. So wait, someone explain steampunk zombie.
So
the zombies that are steampunk, like are they mechanical zombies?
Well, or it's a steampunk world that also has zombies in it. The setup for this one is that it's an alternative history where the Mongol Empire kept going and like actually took over all of Europe at one point. And the thing that made the Mongol Empire finally retreat was that there was a zombie infestation throughout most of Europe and Africa. And it has like steampunk technology. So there's like dirigibles. Dirigibles. I never know how to say that word.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. It takes like, there's a lot of travel. Oh, thank you, Shauna. That's very kind. There's a lot of travel. There's a lot of like, it's different kinds of political machinations. It's not the same, like it's in a different way than this one is. But it's a lot of like adventuring kind of vibe to it. And it's got the first one has a biracial heroine who is the product of sexual assault from one of the Mongol kind of captors in England. And her mother was a lady. So, you know, she's the product of a sexual assault, but then she still has this kind of status in society. And she's also a detective, like in the police. Anyway, it's an interesting series. I personally definitely prefer it. But to Jamie's point, it's hard for me to tell Bethany to go into it because the Iron Duke does have a very strong alpha hole. The heroine is great, and I like him, but I just don't know that Bethany would like him.
But the other shoe dropped at the end there.
I think the thing for me is like, if it's not every book in the series and I love the rest of the world and characters enough, I can deal with it. Because like I mean like Psy Changeling has a couple of them. Like
but it's not. That's the exception. Like in romance in general, there's just a lot of alpha holes. So like it's becoming less that way, but like that's really only been a development in the last couple of years.
At least it's changing.
But so people really like that. I also don't want to yuck people's yum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but I guess what I'm saying is I'm happy that there are more books out there for people like me who don't like it. You know, like I think it's more what I'm trying to say. But yeah, like I think it's fine if people like it. It's just not.
But so what parts of this book that we read were introduced or set up in The Beast of Blackmore? Like were there characters? Were there political parts of it? Was it just the world?
It's
just the world.
Yeah. Like, I think the world probably makes a little more sense if you've read that. Like, it introduces the concept of the Moon Knight and the goddess kind of like being involved in the story. And it kind of sets the vibe, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the world makes sense to me. It just the only part I mean I went on a rant about monkeys, but like the world made sense. Like I understood like how the gods and goddesses like interacted and like everything was explained and made sense. So like there are some things that are good here. I feel like I was being mean to the book.
No, I mean you guys are entitled to not like it. I just don't really know what to say because it's like if you just didn't, if it just wasn't for you, you like what you like, you don't like what you don't like, that's fair enough.
That's fine.
I think all four of us agree we like her and we don't like him.
I think we're all on
we're all on that page.
What's her name? I never remember names.
Oh.
Jasleen?
Yvonne. I didn't know how to say her name.
It's
the Y. I just every time I saw a Y, I'm like, okay. Yeah. We're
all
like
Yvonne, but Yvonne. You know, Yvonne with a Y, it's Yvonne. So it's
Oh yeah.
See, this is the thing. Like, we have somebody who loves them if they adore their women, somebody who can't deal with it. Like, and there just needs to be romance for all of us. That's what there is. Like, what we need.
I would say, like, without having actually read enough romance to be able to say anything expertly, but I think this is true for me that, like, alpha hole or cinnamon roll, that, like, that doesn't matter. It's the execution. So, like, I can, like, there's a lot of characters I like. Like, I like Matthias. I like Kaz. I like Ragnar Lothbrok. Like, I like a lot of very, like, aggressively alpha, stubborn characters. But it's just, like, how the heroine is written, how the situation is written. Like, it's not even necessarily that they grovel. It's just that there's enough give and take, that there's enough equality, that there's enough something going on, or enough to them where, like, they're not just an alpha hole, you know, they're also, like, they've got, you know, intelligence on their side, but clearly they're a stubborn person. Like, there's just, like, more to it than just being an alpha hole and also being stupid.
To, like,
it bothered me more than anything else. I was like, you are dumb. Like, I don't care that you're a bully, you're dumb.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I would be more okay with it too if it's somebody who's still able to, like, learn and grow, you know, and apologize and be better and, like, have some humility. You know, like, then I'm like, okay, like, maybe it's not my favorite hero type, but at least, like, there's something to work with. And, like, I feel like I can want you in a relationship together going forward and working on improving your relationship as you go. You know, like, that's
never
fine.
Read a romance written before 2005.
It just depends, I think, on how he treats her from the beginning. Like, okay, sorry. We're going to go, you know, Six of Crows because, you know, Leanna keeps bringing it up. Kaz Brecker.
Always relevant.
He's kind of an odd alpha hole because he's not like the stereotypical alpha hole.
Well, because he's disabled too.
Well, besides that, he's also kind of quiet, but he will run the whole town in the background. But, like, he's never an alpha hole to people that he cares about. Well, no, that's not true. He is. But there's a difference between, you know, cruelty and just kind of being an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess that, I mean, I love Kaz Brecker, obviously, like, no one is surprised. But, like, there's, and I love the reminders from all the memes of, like, with the cast pictures that look like a reality show, where, like, they have, like, Freddie Carter as Kaz and being like, I wanted to show her how much she means to me, and they cut to Inej, and she's like, he called me an investment.
Yeah,
that's like, you know, that's his love language, is like, you know, I value you, like, therefore I paid to have your indenture removed, so you're welcome. That's my affection.
But, like, sort of like a softie underneath is what he is. Like, he's like hard on the outside. I mean, he kind of is.
He's just real damaged.
Yeah, but I think that's it. Is like his.
But he's always like,
you know,
he looks out for his
feelings. Yeah,
he doesn't understand feelings. He's just like, yeah, I bought you because you're useful, and also you're pretty. What? You didn't hear me right. It runs away. Like,
I mean, like, the things he does to express his affection are rip somebody's eye out, purchase her indenture, like, say that he'll, you know, come for her because she's a good investment, and that he's always gonna, like, protect his investments. You're like, not very affectionate, but, like, I read between the lines.
It. We all know from Kaz Brecker's character when he says, I'm protecting my investment, it actually means I love you, because he doesn't know how to, like, express that.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, he doesn't hurt Inej's eyeball. That guy hurt Inej, and he's just like, no, she is my top bitch, and you will not touch her. I will rip your eyeball out. So it's just like where he's pointing his aggression at, I think, is an important key aspect. And the problem in this book, Mada kept pointing his aggression at Yvonne. Like, he grabbed her tongue about to rip it out. Like, that, no. Like, go rip out someone else's tongue, motherfucker. Like, that,
So
I might have liked you better.
That's why I thought a better comparison, because I mean, Kaz is so different. Like, he's such a different type of character. I think Matthias is a much more similar character because he's like prejudiced against her. He's prejudiced against what she is. He's prejudiced against where they are and their lifestyle, and he's quite like aggressive about it. And he can turn his aggression towards Nina. Like, he chokes her at one point because like he's convinced that she's like a witch and like that this is the devil, and that's still handled with more care and nuance, where like you can see where this is a real struggle for him that he does overcome. And it's like you can forgive the fact that he like violently lashed out at her because like he's kind of a victim of the mindset that he was raised in, and like he's also suffering because of that. Right. And so like that alphaness can be okay.
Yeah. But see, that just requires creating a sympathetic character where you understand why they are the way they are. And like, so that's the thing, is like it requires, I don't know.
But exactly that. Yeah. The problem with Maddox is like, I get it. Your parents got murdered. Like, I get it. I would be upset too. But like, he's not exactly sympathetic in how he like treats anyone else.
On that subject, the fact that they refuse, they think that she's silly for wanting to name horses because they're just tools. We don't care about our horses. But then a horse dies because of something she does, and they act like, you murdered our friend. And I'm like, I thought y'all didn't care about your horses. Like, you are being the most petty little child right now. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I feel like that's the Kaz Brecker part where she's like, I don't know how to have feelings. I didn't name my horse because it's just a horse. But you killed it.
That's true. I think this is an interesting point because it's true. Ash from the Duchess deal can be this way at times, but it's not like forever. And it's because, and you understand why he's hurting. It's not because he's just a jerk, you know, like
I like
he's
Chase better.
But I think, and they're not a different shade of this. I think that the fact that we meet him when his parents die, like, we don't really know what he's actually like. I think that's what this is meant to be, is that all of it is a response of grief. Like, it doesn't make it okay, but that's how I read it, at least, is that fleshing out of grief.
But see, again, like, because we said that he never changed, and so like it's not even that he needs to change to something that he wasn't, but maybe change back to how supposedly he was before grief made him a monster. That doesn't happen either.
Fair.
Yeah. I mean, because I think you're right. Like, that's probably part of it. But again, it's like, okay, but where are we getting by the end of the story? And so, like, maybe, you know, I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe if it had been structured differently, that could have, But yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yes, but also, I mean, it's still a lot. Like, it's not going to be for everybody. But I mean, yes.
I feel like that's an extreme reaction to someone being like, sassy, as he calls it, or whatever he calls it, the fucking clever tongue. It's like, rip it out. Like, it's like that seems like a bit much.
I don't think this is going. That seemed. I'm glad I read the novella first, actually, because it at least gave me a sense of like what the tone was going to be like. And so, because when I was reading the novella, there are scenes where I was like, whoa.
That's why when you said you didn't like it, I was like, oh, she's gonna, if she didn't like the novella, she's really not gonna like this book. The things you said you didn't like, and I was like, oh yeah, she's not gonna like this book.
Yeah, but I'm glad I read it before I read the book, because like I wasn't as shocked, like, if that makes sense, like going into
the novel, I think, is a good sense of the kind of world it is. If people are wanting to see if it's for them.
I think so. I have not read this. No. Yep. Heather, you just champion this book. That's great.
But the thing is, all of his friends also think he's being a dick, and they tell him to his face, like, bruh, you're being a dick and we don't like you. like I mean, but in ye old barbarian speak, they don't say the word bruh. But,
right.
Even his friends,
and like, I liked the side characters. I think, okay, so with ratings, this is the thing, is like, I think I do rate things differently if something is intended to be a romance versus if it's intended to be a fantasy, you know, because like, if I wasn't rating this as being a romance, I would rate it higher. does that make sense? But like, because I feel like the goal of a romance is to be rooting for the couple, I rated it lower. Like, whereas if like I was rating it as if it was just like a fantasy, like this would probably be like a 3.5 star or something.
Yeah.
I
think if the romance was not the main point of the story, the main point of the story was like this whole political machinations and like family drama and all that stuff, and also a romance, I think it would have been a bit more successful.
Well, again, I think that's why Danny and
hard.
I think that's why Danny and Drogo work for me better, because like the story here is that this woman is making the best of a tough situation. She knows that her only path to surviving is getting the affections of this guy, and some genuine affection does grow between them. Like it really does, and people can ship that. But that like she went into this being like, I need him to live. I need his army, and that's my only play here. And if this story had just been a fantasy where this woman who's like obviously physically disabled, so she's going to use her wiles, and she can have a sly tongue. She can lie. Go ahead and lie. Like this whole like purity of always speaking the truth. Like, oh, fuck off. Like this is like a tough situation. A girl can lie. You do not always need to be telling the truth. Like we're talking about survival. So like this whole like purity of the love and the always telling the truth thing. I was just like, I would rather read a story about her just like doing what she's got to do, saying what she's got to say, make it work, because this is how she's gonna.
Yeah. You know. I wonder if this had been a fantasy with strong romantic elements, if it had worked a little bit better. Because, like,
I think
it would have been easier for me. Like, if I wasn't necessarily expecting them to get together at the end, if they did find a way to be happy together, I would have been like, oh, yay, look at that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah. Because then I think I would have liked it a lot better. Like, that's like so, yeah. That's like the struggle.
Yeah, like, if they did this whole book and they weren't together, so to speak, and then like they finally like had the moment, they're like, oh wait, I like you, and then they did it, and then like right after that her dad captures her back, and then he's just like, I gotta go get my fucking girl, and like she doesn't really know if he's gonna come get her because like they just got together. Like I think the arc would have worked better. Like leave the same story but just change like their relationship aspects.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that. It
feels like they're traveling for months, but it's actually only days. And so then it's honestly like it doesn't feel like insta love because like it's taking forever in page count. But like realistically, like she even reflects that I knew his mother longer than I knew him. That it's only been like a week. And like it's just, each day is so forever, and so like it would have worked for me better. Like that's why I didn't expect the traveling to be the whole book, because I figured they kind
like
of have. No, it's not.
Well, they're on the boat for at least a week.
They're on the boat, but I mean, like until they get to like all the riding horses and stuff, and to the point where they've like already started being like, do I love him? Do I not? He's like his affections and whatever. So like it was a lot, and I thought the traveling, they would initially have some moments where of like suspicion. She's kind of making friends with my man. Like I kind of have the hots for her, but like no, like she's the enemy. And then they finally show up to wherever they're going, and they like there's more time to like observe each other's behavior instead of like a week of them.
It's like, hi, I just met you.
Roller coaster.
You know,
that was a bit much. Like, why should you gotta seal
the deal with a bloody handy. Like
whatever. Yeah. Like, I guess that's the thing. Like, I like all of the like the seed and pregnancy, like whatever. I can go with. I didn't really mind that so much, honestly. I didn't like. I think this is the thing, because reading the novella, it's very similar. There's a lot of this, like, these extended sword and sheath metaphors she seems to like to use that I'm kind of like...
this to me, like, that's just the tradition this book comes out of. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you guys have read any of these, like, barbarian romances from back in the day, but, like... No. That's part of it too. And I don't have these nostalgics. I wasn't reading them real time, but like I see who this is for. Like this is aiming at that nostalgia of kids who grew up, or like people who grew up reading these barbarian romances back in the day, which is like there is seed, there is sword and sheaths, there is like far worse alpha wholeness. Like that is who it's like meant to be the 2020s update of a very retrograde trope set.
I mean, it did feel very like daytime Hercules Beastmaster TV show vibe.
Yeah. Which like I think that's the thing, is I can kind of go with some of that stuff. It's just like, but yeah, it was funny. I'm glad, again, like the novella kind of gave me a sense. And I think the thing for that is I can kind of go with it. I don't necessarily think it's like sexy. It's kind of like,
no, I wouldn't say that I find it super sexy, but like I just it feels campy to me. And it's not it's not campy in the same way like a Ruby Dixon is. It's not campy in the same way From Blood and Ash was, but it's like a version of like, yeah, like the Hercules comparison is very apt. Like if you grew up loving Hercules and Xena,
which I did,
these barbarian romances, like that's what
but honestly, like actually for me, which may surprise you, I don't actually mind at all Seeds, Sword and Sheath, any of that. I mind the repetitive like prose. And I don't care if you're describing a sword as or a dick as a sword. I don't care if you're talking about seed. I don't care if you're saying this is truth because that's your catchphrase. I care that you're saying it so many times that this book could be half this length if you didn't say the same thing over and over and over. Like find a new metaphor. It can still be a weapon. It can still be like a fun barbarian metaphor for like the junk, but like pick a new one. Like change it up a bit.
I wonder, because she took a really long writing break between when she was writing under Mel Jean Brooke and this, like 5 years, I think, something like that. So I also wonder if maybe some of this is just her like getting the engine revving back up kind of a thing. Because I agree. I found that the writing was repetitive in a way that I don't think her other books are.
Interesting.
So I wonder if that's part of it too.
Yeah, that's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I do think this is it's funny. Somebody here for the sword metaphor. It's I mean,
doesn't vagina literally isn't that Latin for sheath?
I don't know Latin that well.
So like I don't mind that metaphor. I just mind that it's like every other sentence. I'm like, no, I get it.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah. See, it is interesting because again, like I've only been reading romance for like 3 years, so I'm still kind of figuring out what works.
I feel like I'm an OG now.
Yeah. See, and I like dark romance is not my thing either. So that's like
me neither.
I like a dark romance occasionally, not all the time, but like a sousson.
I like jokes and romance. I like rom-coms. So like
dark
romance too. And just like you all need professional help. Stop.
No, same. Like I tend to prefer more of like a rom-com type thing or something that's like dealing with real world issues, like
whereas like I don't want that in my romance. Like I don't want a contemporary romance that makes me actually think about. I mean, sometimes.
Oh, yeah. See, I like that.
But in general, I'm like, no, I'm coming to this for like escape.
There's this one. It deals with real world issues, and
but like I don't know. I think Bethany tends to like issue books a lot more than I do. So that's just a preference difference.
Yeah. I think a lot of what bothers me in this, like what we had in this book and other type situations, is the imbalance of power. And it doesn't bother me if he's an alpha violent asshole if she can give back as good as he's giving, which is why again like Ragnar and Lagertha don't bother me because she's a shield maiden in her own right. So when he's like being a dick to her, she just like punches him in the face.
Yeah.
I like that too. That tends to be how
I'm more okay with that too.
If I'm gonna have an alpha, I want the heroine to also be an alpha, and then
Xena. You can need Conan. You also need Xena.
Yeah.
That I can do more what the second book is. The second book, she's like a general, so she's like not putting up his bullshit.
Yeah.
That's just battle sex. With Conan and Xena fucked.
I feel like there's some 90s like figures we could get out and like smash their faces together.
If you saw them have sex, you'd be like, are they fighting?
Or they're wrestling? We don't know.
Oh man.
Maybe both. I feel like they would
love
both
is
be more at each other.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. It's one of these things that if this is what you like it's not a bad version of it. It's just, not
depends what you like.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Should we talk about next month's book?
Yeah. Yes.
It's Leanna's pick.
I don't have it because I'm at my parents' house. So
we have it.
Shadow and Claw.
I don't actually know what it's about.
It's two books in one book. 2 novellas.
Okay, I'm just reading this blurb on the back and I'm like, this is intense. It says, it contains elements of Spenserian allegory, Swiftian satire, Dickensian social consciousness, and Wagnerian with mythology. Like, wow, this is...
Yeah.
I mean, it is kind of a seminal, like, sci-fi fantasy, science fantasy, like, text.
Cool.
And is often cited by authors in the genre as being, like, an inspiration or being...
Cool.
Yeah, the first book is the tale of young Severian, an apprentice to the Guild of Torturers on the world called Earth. URTH. Exiled for committing the ultimate sin of his profession, showing mercy towards his victim. So, is this just like Glocka fanfic, or like is this the
this came before Glocka?
Yeah, it's like old.
Glocka maybe is fanfic of Shadow of the Shadow of the Conqueror.
Yeah. So yeah,
I feel like it has a lot of things that I could get into. It kind of has like a little bit of Assassin's Apprentice, a little bit vibes, but like darker, because like this is more stabby.
I mean, this is like science fantasy, so like
there's science in it too.
I hauled this month, and somebody left a like, I'll be interested to see what you guys think of this. I was like, oh no.
I mean, I'm prepared for it to be dated.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was published in like 1980, so yeah, it's probably...
Well, as long as it's not
given how influential it's been, I'm curious to see, like, especially readers of SFF, to see, like, much like when you read Dune, and you're like, oh my god, literally everything is apparently Dune, because, like, all of y'all were just copying this, apparently. So, like, from that perspective, at the least, even if I don't end up enjoying Shadow and Claw, I feel like it'll be interesting to see how many things it influenced.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think I like, Leanna, that you're getting us to read like classics, like genre classics like this, because actually I'm kind of probably this fall I'm gonna be reading something that should be interesting. I had like an upcoming podcast episode I did with a guy who's a podcaster who's like reads classic science fiction. And we're going to collab when he gets around to it, of like, he's going to read from Joanna Russ, like the what is it, like the woman man, or the female man, which is like a feminist sci-fi from like the 70s or 80s or something. So I'm going to read it, like we're going to read and discuss it, which should be really interesting. So I'm curious to see how it goes. She was like a queer feminist sci-fi writer back in the day. So
this makes me want to make you guys read, I forget what it's called right now, but I read it's basically like a gender swapped Regency set on the moon, and men have they have membranes over their dicks that's like meant to be the equivalent of like a hymen. So like there's like a wedding night, like
I feel like I've heard about this.
I did a whole like WTF video about it.
Does it dissolve?
That's probably where I've heard about this.
It's like they tie the men down for their wedding night, and then the lady like mounts him, and her vag like dissolves the membrane.
Do they have extra acidic vaginas? Like
yes, I don't know.
Okay, somebody's wondering, what is this book?
I forget what it's called. I can see that. Just a second. Let me pause.
Okay, I'm just gonna Google
I did a whole video about this, explaining what a wild ride it was. And this was a book I read early on in my romance discovery. Maybe this is why nothing can shock me at some point, because I'm just like, the things I read early on were...
That is very interesting. Yeah, that does sound...
So I mean, Amanda's usually the song person, but isn't there a song where their lyrics are... something about something insane in the membrane? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we know.
I don't know.
It's called, yes, it's by Dara Joy. It's called Ritual of Proof.
Ritual of Proof.
And it's like a romance genre classic, because it's such a just like, what the fuck is this kind of a
I
book.
feel like I saw you do a video on this, because I like that sounds I feel like that's wild.
The song is by Cypress Hill, and it is insane in the membrane. So just play that while you read the book.
I feel like I'm on a list now. I just Googled moon penis membrane, and I couldn't find the book.
Shockingly enough.
So
there's that. Very wild.
Speaking of songs for books.
Yes, she counts. Sorry, I was looking at my description. It says we've got Regency in space, peen membranes, and she counts galore. They don't just call them count. They're not countesses. They're she counts. it's a very interesting book.
Interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
Sorry.
So my book, my song for the book was "Call Me Maybe" by Carly Rae Jepsen, which I said in our Boxer chat, because Evine's whole like plot in the story is like, hey, I just met you and this is crazy. Let's get married and put a baby in me, you know? That's how
I don't think that's how that song goes, Amanda. Don't think those are the lyrics.
I feel like it works.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so for anybody who's curious, one other thing is I posted yesterday like all the book club picks through October.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody wants, I mean, should we go through them? We could.
Sure.
Because we have this in May.
This.
And yeah. And then Amanda has June.
Which we talked about. I don't know where my book is right now, though.
That's fine. June is
Deal with the Devil by Kit Roca.
Yep.
I'll be interested to see how Leanna does with this one.
You know what?
Is that what you always say about everything that I don't pick?
It's Mercenary Librarians.
Because it's one I really could see Leanna liking. That's why. But I could also, who knows? We'll see.
Who knows? We never really know.
We never really know.
Yeah. And then Mara, you've got July.
Yes, I picked Year One by Nora Roberts, which I'll give this live stream a preview. Is going to be it will be on my channel, and it will be capping off a communal reading thing. So
yeah, so that'll be fun.
Get excited about that.
And then I've got August, and we're reading The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, which is yay. Oh, good, you have yours. Which is a debut by I want to say like queer non-binary author, and I think the main character is a disabled warrior. So we're gonna get some of that again. So that should be interesting. And then
September.
Leanna is September. You have it. Nice.
They're right next to me because I just got them yesterday.
I have a copy at my apartment.
Amanda's is called
Deal with the Devil.
Deal with the Devil by Kit Rocha. Yeah.
It's urban fantasy romance.
I got it.
Yes, there it is. Yay.
Yay. This is June.
Yeah, that's June. All of this is on my Instagram. There's like nice little graphics.
Yeah. October.
Yeah.
Then October, Last Final Girl by Stephen Graham Jones. Yes.
My channel. We get to have a Halloween party again.
Maybe November will be Ritual of Proof. Maybe I will make you guys read.
Woo! That will be very exciting.
I won't do it to you, Leanna. That would be too mean.
Haven't I suffered enough?
Hey, you know what? The next
time to give Leanna a round of applause. She made it, I think, 4 romance picks in a row. So
true. But hey, you know what? From like July on, there's no romance for 4 months. So
that's true.
Well, technically, Deal with the Devil is urban fantasy.
It is romance.
But that's June.
Urban fantasy.
I said from July. July, August, September,
well,
October.
July is technically a dystopian romance. It's Nora Roberts, but it will be light on romance, I suspect.
Okay.
Well,
fair enough.
I can take it.
Well, you know what? I picked a slasher book for October. That one's not going to have romance in it, definitely.
Hopefully.
No. Yeah.
I hope not. I'll be sad if it does.
You never know.
Sure, fun.
Somebody
wants to see your reaction to manga, Leanna.
Am I reading manga?
Someone wants to see your reaction to manga.
Oh, but like just generally.
Yeah, I think so.
I was like, are any of these books manga? Because I was not made aware of this.
No, none of them are. Since
when does Nora Roberts write manga?
Not yet, but maybe someday.
Maybe one day. That would be very interesting. Cool. Okay, so there you go. Again, if you want to see all those books again on graphics, check my Instagram because they're all posted on there. So
I'm so glad that Mara and Bethany have joined the group. For many reasons, one of which is like, wow, we're so organized now. I am just a chaos brain person. I'm just like, oh shit, it's due tomorrow. We're reading this, and like that. So
because I'm like,
we'll have us on a full 2022 schedule at some point. Like next month, we'll come back and it's like, here's our books through 2023.
Years. This is what we will be reading.
Yeah. It's nice to have someone who's like not chaos in the brain. Besides, you're also lovely humans, and we like you a lot.
We just need a mix of things. But yeah, I'm like,
it's a testament to my affection for y'all that I read these books for you.
We appreciate
willingly.
it.
You were an incredibly good sport, Leanna, for real.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's very true.
Yeah.
If I was sometimes feel like I should have a nanny cam around for how I look while I'm reading these books, because my face the whole time is like
just like seed, sheath, swords.
Yeah. What?
Oh man, that's great.
Yay, friendship.
Cool. Yeah, friendship.
Honestly, the thing that I think made that face the most for me was when he would like talk about her honey. I was like,
that's a thing.
Cannot eat honey ever again.
I'm so used to honey being used as a term for vagina.
I know, I'm really used to it too. It's very freaky.
Yeah, it doesn't even faze me. But you have a very Ben Shapiro reading of like, if your actual discharge is that sweet, maybe see a doctor. Like,
I feel like you have a pH balance problem.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Anyway.
Oh man.
So book club.
Friendship, yay book club. Cool. Well, we will be on Leanna's channel next month to read Shadow and Claw. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Yay.
Yes. Pick up your copy.
Yeah.
Join us then.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Thank
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.